Hello and welcome to the show. This is the Sales for the Nigerian Business Person podcast. It's available on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts, or any podcast player of your choice. So subscribe for free once you're done listening to this episode. And remember to give me a 5-star review because I'm giving you more value than what you have paid for so far, which is absolutely nothing because this podcast is free. Today on the show, it's going to be a business feature. Sorry, excuse me. And we're going to be looking at the person and the works of BC Adeyemi, and the business is called Ripples Prints, or was it Ripples and Prints? I think it's more like Ripples and Prints. The website is www.ripplesprints.com. That's all together, one word, no space. Ripples Prints, plural, either way, .com. So the business is Ripples Custom Designs and Prints, and they specialize in designing, printing, embroidery, and they do that on a wide range of garments. They also customize garments. They offer branding services for promotional purposes. They also do corporate gifts, and they have a diverse product range. So they customize and brand t-shirts, workwear, jackets, aprons, stuff like that. So if you see folks walking around with corporate swag, merchandise with the business logo put on it, that's the sort of thing that they do. But if I understand correctly, it's not just limited to textiles. And they do all this with the goal of enhancing the brand awareness and recognition of the business. I mean, recognition of their clients, who usually are businesses. So that's about the business, Ripples Custom Designs and Prints. Now, the individual, BC Adeyemi, the entrepreneur, is a businesswoman in Aberdeen, United Kingdom. Aberdeen is in Scotland. So, not that other Aberdeen, not the one in America or the one in Australia. It's the one in the United Kingdom. And yes, she is a former classmate of mine, just like Alexia, who was the first, was she the first business feature that we did on the podcast? Now, BC has managed to build a thriving business abroad, and because of that, I wanted to talk to her and share her experience over here on the podcast to talk about her experience, about how business development principles can be used by Nigerians in the diaspora to grow their business. Because for those of you who've been listening to the show for a very long while, you know that it's my mission over here on the podcast to show that sales is absolutely essential. The only difference is some of us are consciously and deliberately using sales principles to grow our businesses, while other people are using sales principles through osmosis, or because people give them one or two ideas here, tips and tricks. I just want you guys to see how it applies home and away. So recently, BC Adeyemi has celebrated 10 years in business, and that's this year in 2023. In case there are folks in the future currently listening to this episode, maybe you're listening to this 10 years after it was recorded, in which case she would have done 20 years in business. But right now, it's 10 years in business, currently in 2023, and she has credited her faith in God and the power of authenticity and cooperation and specialization to get her through those 10 years. Now, what does faith have to do with anything? Faith is important because it fosters an internal dialogue around your purpose, your mission, and then that helps to give strength and vigor to your pursuit. Now, there are lots of folks who are doing it these days, trying to tap into faith to grow their business. And because of that, I'm going to issue a warning. Now, your using your faith to revitalize your business has to be grounded in a rigorous search for reality and truth. Because we have lots of people running around with hazy ideas about the universe and the cosmos, trying to throw things forward, and the cosmos will answer, and then things like that. Now, if your journey is not grounded in a rigorous search for reality or truth, instead you have all these hazy ideas about how the cosmos is going to come to your aid, then your motivation is going to wax and wane depending on what the philosophical flavor of the day is in society. So right now it's cool to talk about calling out to the universe and all kinds of things. And so you go along with that because it works and you're motivated. But then 2 years down the line, the discourse in society changes and maybe people are not calling out to the universe. Think people have moved on. And who knows what the next fancy spiritual trend of society is going to be. So just make sure it's grounded so that it sticks with you for the long haul. Because 10 years ago, when BC Adeyemi started her business, and a decade and a half ago, when I started my own business journey, okay, I can't remember what the fashionable spiritual sounding stuff was back in the day. But anyway, you get my gist. It has to be grounded in a rigorous search for truth and reality in order for it to serve you for the long haul. If not, you're going to move from one trend to another as the years go by. So, for motivation that lasts a long time, sure, tap into the power of God, and it's going to carry you through all the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and personal life as well. Okay, yeah. So she also mentioned authenticity, and when she says authenticity, she means not concealing her chatty, happy, and bubbly self, because it enhances trust. Well, this is something that I want to stress because there are a couple of people. Well, I haven't noticed it in men. I've noticed it in some women who believe that you're stepping into business, you're stepping into the corporate world, so you have to stifle yourself to be taken seriously. So if you're the chatty, laughy type, you think you need to button it up and conceal yourself so that you can be taken seriously. Well, for Bissy, on the other hand, her authenticity meant not concealing that aspect of herself, and she thinks it enhances trust. And yes, that's something that we can align ourselves with from a sales and business development perspective. Because if you are authentic, in quote, meaning that what you see is what you get, then it enhances trust because people know that you are you. In the office, it's you. On the field, it's you. In church, it's you. At home, it's you. They know what to expect because there's a certain level of consistency. So she has been authentic to herself. She has not shied away from her informal tendencies. And that is something that I advocate over here on the podcast. And I've been saying time and time again. For those of you who are informal or who like to keep it relaxed, that's cool. For those of you who are much more formal and buttoned up, if that's how you are, it's also cool. There's space in the business development game to make money either way, regardless of what your personality or your temperament is. So let this be an example, as BC's case, that if you're on the serious side, you don't have to pretend to be chatty and happy. If you're on the bubbly side, you don't have to pretend to be stoic and serious. Just keep it 100, be you, let it be what you see is what you get. That's going to make you much more approachable and much more relatable. Now, BC also says, or said rather, in our conversation that cooperation was important, and that's because she has needed over time to use other people and other resources that she has needed to run the business successfully. So it's been important for her to seek team opinions, and this is the area where I started clapping for her about maybe 5 years back, because I noticed that unlike a lot of us who are running one-man shows or one-woman shows, she had already started early building a team around her on LinkedIn. Okay, well, I don't know when she made the first hire, but I think it was maybe, excuse me, 5 or 6 years ago that I noticed that she had an office manager, she had a couple of staff and people working for her. So she's not a one woman show. So it's been important for her to seek team opinions and then use the team when it comes to decision making. So utilizing team decision making is one of the skills that she has been cooperating. Sorry, not cooperating. What's the word? That she's been using in her business. So cooperation, like we said over here on the podcast time and time again, cooperation is the principle of business development and sales because building a business is a team sport, something I've said time and time again. You can't go far if you're going to do this alone. Eventually, you'll need a team to help you grow the business. Which is not to say if you want a lifestyle business, then that's a problem. So there are some people who want to do lifestyle businesses. So it's you. Okay, let's rewind. Let's go back to the beginning when BC started the business. If she wanted it to be just her staying in her basement with a single machine and trying to operate everything, press everything out between her and her husband, and that's what the ideal stage of a business is for them, then that's absolutely fine. Some people are comfortable building lifestyle businesses, but if you want to build something that's beyond you, and you want to build a business that can survive and thrive, whether you're in the country or not, then you have to start building a team, and the sooner you build, the better. So I'm sure a couple of years ago, whenever she started putting together the team, there must have been some teething challenges and it must have been uncomfortable. But now, 10 years later, the thing works and it works like a charm. So whether she's traveling, whether she's in Aberdeen, whether she's in Niger, whether she's in Barbados or Turks and Caicos or wherever she travels for the holidays, the business is still up and running. And so that's something we ought to take on board. Then, okay, cooperation has also, she has also manifested cooperation by outsourcing certain aspects of the business. So she outsources accounts, and she outsources human resources. As for outsourcing accounts, it's not a surprise because, like I said, we used to be classmates. Okay, well, not classmates. She was a class ahead of me, and we both studied law back in the day. So, yeah, outsourcing accounts, that's not a surprise. In fact, that's the first thing, well, that's the only thing I've tried outsourcing in the past, to be honest, which is accounts. Have somebody look at the books, tally it up. Is money missing? Profit and loss? Are you growing? Are you shrinking? Those sorts of concerns. So she outsources accounts and she outsources human resources. And for her, it's important to get the specialist involved really early. Then she also spoke about specialization, and that's improving knowledge around not just the business practice, but the practice of the practice and the application of textiles, of fabrics, of materials, those sorts of things. Because remember, she's using machines and soldering. Is it soldering? I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, you know how you take logos and apply them to shirts and apply them to cups and those sorts of things. So, materials, metals, fabrics, bonding techniques, blah, blah, blah. So, she has to be a specialist in those sorts of things. And it's also something that we've spoken about over here on the podcast. If you're new to the show, we have over 720 episodes so far. So, okay, well, anyway, if you're interested in whatever topic it is that you're interested in, just use the search function and you're going to find something. I'm sure you'll be able to find a topic or two over on the podcast that relates to these sorts of things we're talking about. So back to specialization. Specialization. Sorry, where was I? Okay, yes. So improving her knowledge and practice of textiles, fabrics, materials, those sorts of things. Now, for sales and business development, it's a core principle that product mastery, or whatever it is that you do, mastery in the thing, is essential for business growth. Because if you try selling your product or your service without mastery, then people are going to call you out as a fraud, and your business is going to grow. Is going to die over time. So, Ibisi had tried to prop herself up as a reputable businesswoman in this particular industry, but she has no knowledge of fabrics and no knowledge of which bonding techniques go with which kind of textiles, or whether bonding works on which kinds of metals and things like that. Then quickly people would have called her out to be a fraud, and her business would have suffered. So, specialization, as she calls it, or product mastery, as salespeople like to call it, absolutely important. So, product mastery in everything that you do. It is only when you have product mastery first, then you can layer sales mastery over it, and then you will be good to go. Now, for her business growth, she also credits a decade of repetition that has been necessary for success, and that's something that we talk about over here on the show. It's a business development principle that you need repeatable, practical, and easily discernible systems that you apply every day, and that is what is essential to business growth. So you don't need creative things per se. You don't need to do something creative this week, something creative next week, something creative the week after, and 6 months down the line, you're still looking for some creative thing to apply to your business. No, it actually is a decade of repetition, the boring stuff that you apply every day, every week, doing the same thing. It is those boring principles and practices that you apply every day for years. That is what is necessary for business success. So for those of you who keep chasing, one thing today, one thing tomorrow, this week inbound marketing, next week content marketing, the week after that everything networking, and then the week after that everything manifestation, and blah 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 blah. I mean, just pick a lane, stay in the lane, apply it consistently, and well, if you did the work upfront, doing the right research and everything, and you are on the right path, then you should see the results. Now, I had some questions around challenges in building an immigrant-owned business because Bisi Adeyemi, in case you guys haven't figured out, is Nigerian born. I assume she must be a UK citizen by now. Okay, well, children are definitely UK citizens. So, Nigerian born, building a business in the United Kingdom. So, I thought she might have had some things to share with us over there. Now, for those of you who are looking for stuff that is, what will I say, scandalous or intriguing, unfortunately, she doesn't have anything exciting to say about that because she says there are both advantages and disadvantages of building an immigrant owned business when you're not in your home country. So, the advantages. Okay, she said that the advantages for black owned businesses, minority owned businesses, female owned businesses, and the advantage is that when you're in that sort of environment, Aberdeen, remember Scotland, and of course, Scotland, Scottish people are not Africans. So, when you're in that kind of, excuse me, the cold hasn't gone yet. Where was I? Okay, yeah. So when you're in that kind of social context, cultural context, then you are memorable. Remember, I'm talking about the Western context here. You are memorable when you step into the room. So over the months, over the years, when she steps into the room, she is unique because typically she's the only black-owned business. She's the only minority-owned business. She's the only female-owned business. So she's kind of hard to forget. Say, BC Adeyemi, who is that? Oh, the Nigerian lady who runs this business. Oh, okay, that lady. So for her, it's an advantage. Funny thing is, before I had the conversation with her, I actually thought that would have been a disadvantage, being a black minority and female-owned business. So I guess this shows how you can flip the context or flip the perspective to make some things that ought to be a disadvantage to make those things a strength. So it inspires more confidence in her because whenever she steps into the room, she is special and she is unique, which makes sense. Because Nigeria, if she was to step into the room, she would just be another female business person. Okay, what else? Okay, so on the experiences of growing her business abroad, um, okay, there's also been good experience because currently there are supportive initiatives out there in the West for black-owned businesses. Things that you can take advantage of. Um, Okay, we didn't discuss if there were financing opportunities available. So I know of some mentorship and business support things that are out there. I should have asked about finance. Yeah, that's sloppy. Yeah, I should have asked for finance. Okay, um, I'll get back to you guys on that one. Whether there were any financial incentives in her own case for growing black minority and a female-owned business abroad. Now, the difficulties, which is what I was trying to get at when I asked her the first question, because I wanted to know all the difficulties, all the gory details. Now, for the difficulties, she says the only difficulty pretty much was just growing everything from scratch because she had no previous networks to lean on in the beginning, which kind of makes sense. Because for those of us who started back here at home, you already have networks. There are people that you work with before, people you went to school with before, people you did NYSC with before, folks in church that you've grown up with. What else? Cousins, uncles, aunties, that sort of thing. So it's easy to say, hey, Uncle Kevin, Auntie Chingere, I'm starting this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Come and help me buy, come and help me move market, those sorts of things. So that was one difficulty that she admitted. Now, the other thing that should have been a difficulty was starting business in an economic downturn. Because for those of you who do the math, by the time we were leaving the University of Aberdeen, things were not looking too good world over. Okay, she would have finished in 2009, I think. 2009. I think I finished in 2010. Okay, I'm not sure. But either way, there was that whole thing of global economic downturn and people just coming out of it. And she thinks it was a good thing. I mean, not good because people were going through a hard time, but good in her particular instance because it helped breed a scrappy mentality in her because she needed to come up with skills to tackle adversity. So, skills and creativity to tackle adversity. So, it ended up being a good thing. Now, tips to other Nigerians in diaspora. For her, she gives a strong recommendation that you need to know your environment and you need to engage in your environment. So she says you need to broaden your cultural palette and broaden your exposure. You need to know the culture of the people and you need to engage because it's useful for networking and building people assets and partnerships over time. Now, the reason why that's important is because, okay, I'm sure other people do it as well. But Nigerians, we have this thing of we get into an environment and we only want to eat pounded yam and indomie and limit ourselves to people that look and sound familiar. But the thing is, eating only pounded yam and indomie with limited cultural exposure and access to other people is not a good recipe for business success. So yeah, eat your pounded yam, eat your indomie, look for your atarodo and whatever it is that you need, that you think you need to survive in America or Australia or wherever you are. But don't limit yourself culturally. Expose yourself to other people. You need access to other people and access to other networks, especially if you're planning on building this life in Canada or in the UK or Australia or whatever. You can't stay insulated forever and expect to have business growth from that. Well, if your business is inward facing, Nigerians only, maybe like the lady who owns a salon for Nigerian women to braid their hair. I know that sounds kind of silly, but the thing is, when you live abroad, it's not like you can just leave work and then go down the street and enter into a salon and then get your hair done. So for those living in the United Kingdom, ladies, getting your hair done, that's a big deal. So I guess if that's the kind of business that you own in America or Scotland or wherever, then yeah, sure, remain insulated in your Nigerian community in diaspora and you will be fine. And then she also advises a bit of emotional intelligence that we have to know when to tone down the Nigerian gregariousness. We're very friendly, and some people say we can be loud. At least in the UK, I got a hint of that kind of reputation. Because under the wrong circumstances, people might consider us loud, maybe a goosh. I don't know, different ways of putting it. But back to the whole thing about being authentic. So she's not saying stifle yourself, but you have to be aware so that you know when it's appropriate to be, Niger born and bred, and when it's inappropriate not to be. So, on networking as a key to business growth, that's also something we spoke about. She said relationships have been the bedrock to her business growth, and it shouldn't surprise you because that's something that we've spoken about in previous episodes, I think 2 or 3 episodes back. Well, I spoke about networking and the Alumni UK initiative and other initiatives of the UK government. So if you're interested in that, just look for the episode that has Alumni UK in the title. It's around networking, and you get caught up to speed on that. So for her, networking helps to bridge the gap between where you are and where you'd like to be. And the networking initiatives that she has tried in the past include the BNI. Now, the BNI is Business Networking International, and after 5 years, she was able to become the vice principal of the chapter. Was that vice principal? Okay, I should have confirmed that title. But whatever it is that they have there, if they have presidents or chairmen or chairpersons or whatever, she became the vice after 5 years. And BNI, Business Networking International, it's an interesting experiment. It's been going on for a very long time. It's a formal networking. Has a formal. How will I put it? Okay, most networking happens informal. Like I said in the previous episode on networking, you meet people in church, the office, you know, informal. But then there are some networking initiatives that are very formal, like Alumni UK. But BNI is even much more formal than that because there's a meeting that I think in Nigeria, the chapters in Abuja that I've come across, BNI meets 7 a.m., sometimes 8 a.m. Every week, and there's a fixed agenda and a fixed slot for people to talk about their business, things like that. Most people will consider that excessively formal, but BC thinks it was a very good thing to help grow her business because of the structure that was involved and the deliberateness around networking. So networking with BNI is not something that is fluffy. You're not just coming and talking about Manchester United or talking about Israel and Hamas and whatever people seem to be talking about in society at the time. So we're there, we're business people. This is the structure of the meeting. We're here, and we're going to do some networking, and we're going to be very deliberate about it, and come up with action points, and then all that. So she also said it was a good thing because of the accountability that is involved with the peer group at BNI. We're all peer people, so people keep you accountable. You are supposed to do this. Why didn't you do that? We agreed on this action items. How far have you gone with that? Those sorts of things. So that's available in accountability, the accountability of the network. And I'm sure you guys can see that it's a good thing because if you're networking solely on an informal level, you don't have some of these advantages, especially the accountability thing. Then, okay, yeah. So, like I mentioned, the meetings, like she mentioned, actually, meetings were deliberate. So, well, not no excessive chatting. Deliberations are on point. No waffling about. You go straight to the purpose. No meandering. And she said it was also good because there was exclusivity that was baked into the whole thing. So for her own line of business, she was the only person there in the chapter. If another person came and said, "Oh, this is what I do," they would say, "Oh no, sorry, we already have BC Adeyemi for that. So you have to move on to another chapter to get your networking support." So she also mentioned that there are other formalized networking options available in the UK for female-owned businesses, black-owned businesses. So for those of you who are trying to build a business abroad, keep your eye open and take your pick. There are lots of opportunities. So informal networking, yeah, that's good. Networking with people in church, that works. If you're looking for something much more formal, there's BNI and there's support for female-owned businesses and black-owned businesses. If you happen to be female and black. Then her ideal customer base has changed over the years. Recently, they have come up with a business growth plan where they are targeting people in construction, in sports, and education. And of course, I wondered why construction, sports, and education. I mean, what's the link? And the rationale for this is very simple, actually. Volume. She needs volume because the her business has a very low markup, so they need volume to make profits. And the example that she gave is this: if you secure a contract and you're going to make £1 of profit over every T-shirt that you emboss, or over every mug that you emboss, then it doesn't help if you only make 20 mugs or 20 garments or 20 protective hoodies or whatever. Now, if you make 50,000 cups or 50,000 garments or 500,000 or whatever, you can see that it all starts to add up. And of course, when this what's it called, low profit businesses, the more volume you get, the greater the economics of scales and the greater that your profits become. So it's possible that depending on the number of units, the profit might actually start going up to £1 per shirt or per cup to maybe £1.20, £1.30, maybe £1.50. So you see how it goes. So that's the rationale. That's why they're looking for construction, sports, and education, because that's where the volume is. Now, the business development lesson principle there that is at play is something that we keep talking about over here on the podcast. Prospecting plan. It's essential for growth. Before your business grows, you need to know who are we going to chase down before you start the game of business. So for them, they sat down, came up with a business growth plan, and they asked themselves those questions, and they came up with construction, sports, and education. So this year, that's what they've been doing: construction, sports, education. Next year, that's what they're going to be doing: construction, sports, education. You can see how it makes it a whole lot easier. So if the government changes, people might be saying that, oh, this government, high taxes, this, that. Oh, woe is me, my business is going to fail. But for them, they have a very clear path. They're going to wake up, and the answer is always going to be construction, sports, education. Where do they hang out? How can we find them? How do we initiate the conversation? So you guys, you get the picture. So for construction, they make up the volume because construction people have high staff turnover, and then plus the winter season is coming at the time of recording this podcast over in the UK. So they need more garments. They need more t-shirts. They need more windbreakers. They need more undergarments. They need more head warmers. They need more. I mean, you get the point. So you see how it works. For schools, children are always growing up. They need bigger sizes every year. And then plus, I didn't look at it this way, but schools are administered at the what's it called? Is it county level? No, not county. I think county is America and Australia, county level. Okay, well, the Nigerian equivalent would be the local government level. So let's put it that way. So schools are administered at the local government level. Yes, I know UK doesn't have a local government, but I can't remember what the term is. So schools are administered at local government level. So if you go in, negotiate well, secure the contract with the local government or with the county or with the whatever that local administration is, it's a big win for the business. She doesn't have to chase down 200 parents. She just has to be able to secure the contract from the local government, and then she has access two, the 200 parents, that have to place the order through her for the uniforms and then all of that. And then for sports, the rationale is the same. The children are always growing, and then sporting activities are funded and promoted also at the local level. So all she has to do is secure the contract with the local government or with the city council or with the county or whatever it is that is called, and then it's a big win for the business. Okay, wow, 30 minutes. Okay, let me wrap this up because our conversation there's plenty of back and forth over maybe a week or so. So I'm really trying to condense some of the stuff that we chatted about. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Ideal customer profile. Okay. So the ideal customer profile for the business, how they've made it clear for everyone, so they know who it is that they have to chase every month, every year, is they came up with really specific personas. So you look at construction, you look at sports, you look at what was the third? Construction, sports. I can't remember. Anyway, construction, sports. So they're able to come up with clear personas. What is the age of the people you usually talk to? What is their pattern of buying? What is their buying criteria? That's important because some people are price sensitive. So you need to know when you're talking to the cheap folks or the people who use price as a signal of quality. You need to have an idea. Then some other industries are spec driven. So sports and construction, those ones are heavily spec driven. By spec, I mean, what's that word? Specification. Yes, they're specification driven. So the things have to be breathable. You have to meet health and safety legislation, health and safety concerns, because of course this is the UK, so everything is health and safety. I mean, but in Nigeria, I mean, who cares? You see Nepal staff climbing poles. They don't have gloves. They don't have shoes. It might be raining. Those sorts of things. But that's the UK. So all these things are spec driven, plenty of health and safety involved. They have to meet standards for warmth, stain resistance, fire resistance, chemical resistance, blah, 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 all those sorts of things. So these are the sorts of things that they need to know in coming up with their ICP. So it just makes things a whole lot clearer that if you're going into the local government, you know that you're going to talk to men or women between the ages of 30 this and maybe 40 that, who usually buy this amount. And for this industry, they're concerned about this criteria, this criteria, this criteria. It makes it easy to go in and have a conversation with these people. So for her, for basic key ways of attracting business, it's been word of mouth, it's been LinkedIn, and then content marketing. So for word of mouth, cultivate your referrals. We keep talking about that over here on the podcast. Cultivate referrals. You want to know how? Look for the podcast episodes around referral, around word of mouth. Use that to search within the podcast app you're listening to, and you'll find some good stuff over here on the show. Then for LinkedIn, a LinkedIn game, and then the content that they put up, they usually put up educative stuff like infographics, because they're trying to educate the target market. It's stuff like this is the benefit of this material, this is the benefit of corporate branding, these are the benefits of these techniques, this is how you can save cost on that technique, or this is how you can achieve this on that technique. So it sets them apart. It sets them apart as the specialists and the people to talk to. Now, she mentioned something really interesting on data analytics. So they've been using data analytics on a practical level. So they've been using data analytics on the website because they're trying to dig up information on who is coming to the website, how long do they stay on the site, what do they look at when they're at the site, what is the bounce rate, people who land on the page and then leave, things like that. Because this information is able to give you a very good picture of who your actual audience is, because sometimes target audience, who you want to reach out to, and then actual audience, people that you're doing business with, sometimes can be different. So this gives you some information on the actual audience. So the example that she gave was, if based on the information that they see coming into the site, if it shows that the people who are visiting the website are facilities managers and lots of them are from Leeds, United Kingdom, because they used to have a manufacturing base back then. So if it's mostly facilities managers from Leeds looking at the site, then they now know that their next marketing and targeted campaigns have to focus on facilities managers from Leeds in the UK. It's that simple. So that's how data analytics works in their own context. Her confession, data analytics, very hard game, but it's worth it. So they're looking at having a full-time data analyst eventually. So if you want to learn some more, you're looking for business partners in the UK, then visit their site, which is www.ripplesprints.com. Remember, it's Ripples plural, and then Prince, plural. No space, no underscore, no dash, nothing of that nature. So, yeah, so have a look. Visit the site and connect with BC Adeyemi. So, thank you very much, guys, for your time and attention. And thank you very much, BC, for taking the time to, for all the voice notes and our messages back and forth. Really happy to see how you've grown your business and really looking forward to 10, 20 years more growth, especially so that you can inspire your daughters, well, your sons and your daughters, and others, Nigerians, both at home and abroad, what people can achieve with a good vision and with tenacity. So, for you, dear listener, thank you very much for listening to the show. And that's all for today, folks. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.